So how does a brand that was around when George Washington was president even begin to compete today? I mean, really, in a world of startups and constant disruption? Well, today we're going to dive into the story of Jim Beam. It's a 225-year-old company that acts, in a lot of ways, like a brand new startup. It's this incredible blend of deep-rooted tradition and some seriously forward-thinking innovation. So how'd they pull it off? Let's find out. This quote from Fred Noel, the current master distiller, really gets to the absolute heart of how Jim Beam works. It sounds kind of backward, doesn't it? To win big, you have to be okay with failing small. And we're about to see exactly what that means in the real world. But, to really get where they're going, we have to go back to the very beginning. And I mean way, way back, over 2 centuries ago, deep in the hills of Kentucky. When you look at this timeline, one thing just jumps out. This family knows how to adapt. It's in their blood. From Jacob Beam back in 1795, turning his extra corn into whiskey, to David M. Beam literally picking up and moving the whole distillery to be closer to a railroad. But the defining moment? For me, it has to be 1933. After 14 years of Prohibition, the business was dead. Jim Beam, the man himself, was 70 years old. He could have retired. Instead, he rebuilt the entire distillery from the ground up in just 4 months. That kind of resilience? That became the soul of the brand. And you can literally taste that history in the bourbon. It starts with a sour mash and that famous limestone-filtered Kentucky water. But here's the real magic. The secret ingredient is the exact same strain of yeast that Jim Beam himself rescued and kept alive through Prohibition. After it's distilled to ice and aged in these supercharred alligator char barrels, they do the hardest part. They wait 4 years. That's double what the law requires. So this isn't just some recipe, it's the bedrock of everything they do. But here's the thing. Even with a legendary recipe, the company hit a major wall. I mean, history's great and all, but it's not going to pay the bills if the next generation isn't buying your product. And they weren't. The problem was pretty obvious. Their spokesperson was Kid Rock, and the brand was getting a reputation as, cheap party fuel. They were falling behind their big rival, Jack Daniel's, and they were completely missing 2 huge growing markets, millennials and women, who were getting way more into craft spirits. All that rich history was just getting totally lost in the noise. So they knew they needed a huge change, a radical one. This couldn't just be some new ad campaign. This had to be about starting a new conversation, a whole movement. Their whole strategy boiled down to this idea, the Make History movement. The plan was to take the brand's legacy and reframe it for today's world by taking a really bold stand for equality right in the middle of the super male-dominated world of whiskey. And their choice of spokesperson, honestly, it was a masterstroke. Mila Kunis wasn't just some celebrity they hired. She actually drank and loved bourbon. People saw her as authentic and fun, and women really admired her for her confidence. Making her the first ever female face of a big American bourbon brand wasn't just casting, it was a statement. It perfectly captured what that make history idea was all about. And the results? They were undeniable. The campaign won a Gold Effie, which is a huge deal for marketing effectiveness, and sales just took off all around the world. They had done it. They had successfully repositioned the brand for a whole new generation of drinkers, both men and women. So that's the story they told the world. But their success was really being powered by something just as important on the inside, a culture of innovation. Let's take a look inside their engine room. Hey, remember that quote we started with? This is where it all comes to life. 4,000 gallons. That's the size of the experimental fermenter at the Fred B. No Craft Distillery. Think of this place as a learning lab, like a sandbox for making bourbon. Instead of betting the whole farm on a giant 40,000-gallon batch, they can test, they can tinker, they can even fail, but on a much smaller scale. It massively lowers the risk and creates this space where trying new things isn't just allowed, it's actually encouraged. And this isn't just talk, they really live it. Fred No's son, Freddie, tried to create a new bourbon by blending 3 different whiskeys together. The result? A total failure. But here's the crucial part. Nobody saw it as a costly mistake. It was seen as a valuable lesson. That's what people mean when they talk about psychological safety in the real world. It's the freedom to fail without being afraid. And this whole culture of long-term learning, it's supported from the very top. See, back in 2014, Jim Beam was bought by a Japanese company called Suntory, and that changed everything. I mean, just look at the numbers. This partnership has been a phenomenal success. In the decades since they were acquired, revenue has more than doubled, from $2.5 billion to $5.5 billion. But the real story here isn't just about the money. It's about a total shift in mindset. This quote from Fred No just says it all. He was used to that American business pressure of hitting your numbers every quarter. Suntory came in with a completely different philosophy. They think in decades. And that long-term view creates the stability you need for real innovation. It lets you see things like a new craft distillery or even a failed blend, not as costs, but as investments in the future. And his whole partnership led to a rebrand just this year. The company is now Suntory Global Spirits, and it's all driven by these shared values. One of them is a Japanese phrase, yate minahar, which basically means go for it. It's just the perfect model for a company that's built its success on a foundation of bold experiments. It's the spirit of a 225-year-old startup. So what can a 225-year-old whiskey really teach us about the future of business? Well, the story of Jim Beam shows us it's not about choosing between your heritage and innovation. It's about using your roots as a launchpad for growth. It's having the courage to make small mistakes, the patience to think in decades, and maybe most importantly, the wisdom to know that your most valuable asset isn't what you make, it's what you learn along the way.